Alright guys, will swapping out this air intake and throwing a stage 1 tune on this make any difference on the Milwaukee 8 114? Let's find out. Alright everybody, what is up? What is up? As always, thanks for stopping by to another video today. We are out on the streets of Philadelphia in the Spring Garden section of Philly, out on a little ride today, and I'm pretty excited about this one today, guys. So I got kind of a unique story about a stage 1 coming up on the 2022 Harley Davidson Street Bob that we are on here right now. So I'm pretty excited about the story and opportunity I have today here to get this stage 1 done on the bike, so make sure you stick around for that story. But as you guys know, I currently have the OEM air filter, air intake on there that comes standard on the Harley Street Bob, and then I also have the 2-to-1 SP Concepts lane splitter exhaust in there. Now I currently do not have any tune on the bike, and that's a big question I've been getting from a lot of people recently, is do I have a tune, do I not have a tune, how's it running with, without, all that stuff. And so the big question in relation to that is, I'm curious to hear everybody out there's experience with the quote-unquote stage 1. So we know that as being upgrading the air intake, upgraded exhaust, and then also the tune with any of the popular tuners out there, the Dyno Jet, the Vance & Hines FP3, 4. I'm sure there's a couple other ones out there that I'm forgetting. But like I said, I'm curious to know everybody's experience out there with those stage 1s basically on their Milwaukee 8s, with the big question being, what should we expect, or like what should we see as the results of that with the performance of the bike? So the upgraded air intake, exhaust, and then a tune as well. Like, what has everybody out there's experience been? Drop it down there in the comments and let me know what are some of the changes that we might hope to see there. So the plan for me anyways is going to be putting on a Arlen Ness method clear big air sucker intake with a Dyno Jet tuner. Not entirely sure on which tuner yet. I gotta wait till I get there and see which one we're gonna go with. 3 or 4, I'm not exactly sure just yet. But obviously the main reasons people want to do that is when they do some of those upgrades, they want to retune the ECM to make sure we're getting the proper air and fuel mixtures, to make sure we're getting the proper performance out of the bike. And for me, I don't know why, sometimes I just tend to be a little skeptical with some of like the performance stuff when it's not related to like cams or like actual some of the big time upgrades that you know you're getting some of that spike in performance in. Like, is the stage 1 really making that much of a performance difference on the bike? So like I said, I'm curious to hear everyone out there's experience with their stage 1s on their Milwaukee 8s. And I would kind of, what I'm actually really kind of expecting to see here is kind of based off one of Blockhead's videos where they did some dyno numbers from stock to the stage 1 on Justin's bike there, and then they did some of the dyno numbers as they went up and tuned it, and basically what the results of that were was not anything like super significant. They found on that was, they found, you know, they got a little bit of a bump, like 1 or 2 bump in horsepower and 1 or 2 bump in torque was really all that kind of resulted from that practice. So you say, like, is the stage 1 really kind of worth it at that point? But what they started to dive into after that piece was they actually took the bike out for a ride and then said, you know, some of that, what you're going to notice is really just kind of in how the bike and engine handle and perform. They noticed that it was a lot smoother, the power curve was a little bit more linear, and Justin Iron J Moto also said that he saw a little bit more of throttle responsivity as well. So that seemed to be where you're going to kind of notice and feel a lot of differences. If you're really just getting like a 1 or 2 bump in horsepower and torque, I don't know that you're really going to notice or feel that a whole lot with a stage 1. But like I said, they mostly said the differences that you're going to notice is the actual feel and performance of the engine while you're riding it, and how it's really kind of responding throughout the RPM range with the upgrades and the tune on it. So my assumption obviously would kind of be having a similar experience. You know, hopefully, like I said, I've got the SPC Concepts 2-to-1 exhaust on here. we're gonna throw an Arlen Ness method big air sucker on there and then tune it with one of the dyno jet options. So, you know, like I say, I'm expecting a similar scenario, a little bit increase in horsepower, a little bit increase in torque, and then maybe some smoothness and power delivery, throttle response, and things like that once we actually get riding and find out. And so if you guys have been tuning in for a while now, you probably heard me say a few times, like, you know, I've been running it with no tune now. Wasn't really planning on getting a tune for a while, and it's been running pretty good. I was kind of just thinking, you know, skip the stage 1 and just jump right into stage 2 by doing like some cams and things like that later this year, probably around like mid-summertime. I was kind of thinking along the lines of like, why spend money on the stage 1 with intake and tuner, you know, if I'm just gonna hop right up to cams and stuff stage 2 eventually. But the unique opportunity today kind of presented itself with a good friend of mine who actually works down here in the Navy Yard area of Philadelphia where Revzilla is. He works at Revzilla. He kind of works in their operations video production type department, and he presented the opportunity to me where they needed a Harley Davidson Softail that they wanted to install the air cleaner and a tuner on a bike, kind of for like their content purposes of like their pages, their product pages, get film, get video, get photography, get photos, stuff like that on a Softail bike. So he reached out to me knowing that I've got this 22 Street Bob and said, hey, would we be able to borrow your bike for this shoot, you know, put the intake on, do the tuner and all that stuff, and we're going to take pictures and everything like that. And the kicker was, he's like, if we do this, you get to just keep all the stuff. And I was like, whoa. And so I'm like, wait, so you're telling me that you're gonna install all this stuff, put it on my bike, do all kinds of cool stuff, film, pictures, highlight it in pages, put it in a magazine, and I get to keep all of it afterwards? And he's like, yeah, you get to keep it, we're gonna put it on there, you come pick it up and take it. I was like, well, yeah, seems like a no-brainer in my opinion. Absolute no-brainer if you're telling me you're going to install all these performance parts on my bike and then I get to keep them afterwards. So that is where we are headed down to again today. Like I mentioned, we're headed down to Revzilla. We're going to drop this thing off. I was hoping that I could actually get down here on a day where I could stay and like hang out, help with the install, and just kind of like watch the process, watch the pictures, all the video, all that kind of cool stuff. But unfortunately, I have to work. We have some bad weather coming here through Philly soon, and it's like a Sunday. It was really kind of the only time I was going to be able to get down here and drop this thing off. So that's where we're headed. We're headed up to meet him down here at Revzilla here. In just a few minutes, we will be there. So like I said, very excited for this opportunity. Huge shout out to my buddy Nick and Revzilla for letting me in on this opportunity here. I'm glad I could also help them out by letting them do a little work to the Softail Street Bob here today. Again, that's going to be putting the Arlen Ness Method Clear big air sucker on there with a Dyno Jet tune. So wow, this smells amazing. We're down here by the Tasty Cake Factory. If you guys are familiar with South Philadelphia at all, we've got the Tasty Cake Factory right here. This smells absolutely amazing. Can I go in there and get some? That's wild. I never noticed that smell before. But anyways, so here we are pulling up to Revzilla right there. That's their showroom. I think we're probably going to pull around back to meet up with him. There it is, Revzilla showroom. If you guys have ever been down here, check that out here in Philly. But anyways, like I said, we're going to drop this thing off. That is going to wrap this one up for now. We are going to check in kind of with a part 2 on this thing, where we will check in. I'll let you guys know how everything went, how they did with everything, the install, the tune, all of that. And then of course we will go ahead and take it out for a ride in part 2, give you guys my test ride, initial impressions, feedback, any changes, any differences that we know from a performance perspective at that point in time. But we're going to turn this thing off, get it dropped off. Again, as always, thanks for tuning in out there. If you like anything we got going on here, make sure you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you ride safe out there, make it a good one, guys. It's the Moto John. We'll see you all on down the road. Peace.